about where that money went.
Yes, so at this time, it looks like the Supreme Court, the CJI-led bench is not inclined to entertain this petition. That's what we are gathering from court. There were several arguments that were being made by Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who was appearing for Manish Sisodia. Remember, Manish Sisodia was given 5 days in CBI custody yesterday by a local court, after which we saw that Sisodia and his legal team knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court. But for now, the Supreme Court has made it clear that they will not be entertaining this petition of Manish Sisodia, questioning his arrest altogether. And Arunima, as we are seeing these observations come out of the Supreme Court, it looks like the Supreme Court is just talking about the jurisdiction really and the kind of remedies that Manish Sisodia and his team have outside of the Supreme Court. They're not really going into the merits of the case at all.
Well, this is a final order now. That's what Ananya Bhatnagar is telling us. It's no longer an observation. The Supreme Court has given its order here, and the court has said that there is no inclination by the Supreme Court to intervene in this matter at this stage. The plea there being that the arrest itself is illegal. That plea has not been entertained by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is saying that at this stage, we can't set a wrong precedent by getting into the question of whether the arrest was legal or illegal. This is a case of Prevention of Corruption Act. The allegations are about causing loss to the exchequer.
Yes.
If at all you think you are on grounds where you can seek bail, Delhi High Court would be the right forum, and on that grounds, that plea to quash the arresting, deem the arresting illegal, has been rejected by the Supreme Court of India.
Yes, so no relief coming to the fore from the highest court of the country for Manish Sisodia. Ananya Bhatnagar, my colleague, also getting us the latest from inside court. That hearing has just concluded and the order has been dictated. Ananya, several arguments were put forth by Abhishek Manu Singhvi on behalf of Manish Sisodia, but it looks like the court decided that it wasn't really their jurisdiction to intervene at this moment, going on to reiterate that there are several other alternative remedies that can be availed of.
Well, definitely, this is a big blow that is coming into Manish Sisodia, because remember that he's directly knocked the doors of the topmost court of the country, and the Supreme Court made a very, very peculiar, observation that it cannot intervene directly into this particular matter because it would set a very wrong precedent, is what Justice P.S. Narasimhan said. And in fact, the SC also said that this is not because Mr. Singhvi was citing judgments from the Vinod Dua and the Arnab Goswami case, wherein the court clearly told him that they were journalists and that there was some different issue that was involved into that particular case. And in this case, this is a case involving charges of corruption. These are charges of Prevention of Corruption Act, and that's the reason why the Supreme Court cannot directly intervene into this particular matter. The remedies available with Mr. Sisodia is that he approaches before, in fact, a trial court with a bail, or either approach the Delhi High Court under 482 of the CRPC. And definitely now this is something that is raising troubles for Manish Sisodia, because the topmost court of the country has said, no, we won't entertain your petition at this moment of time. Please go before any other forum to seek any kind of relief. Poonam.
Right, Anya, that's the latest coming to the fore. SC is not going to entertain the petition that Manish Sisodia had filed 1 day after he was granted in 5 days CBI custody. The investigation, questioning of Manish Sisodia continues. Arunima, my colleague, also is with me on this broadcast. But Ananya, you've been listening to all the arguments that were put forth inside court. And one of the things that Manish Sisodia's legal team was pointing to was the fact that he's not just any cabinet minister in Delhi. He has 18 portfolios. So it's the governance in Delhi that's also taking a hit, which is why this case should be thrown out.
This was the argument that was taken by senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who was appearing for Manish Sisodia, and he continuously said that the arrest was illegal. It is an offence that is less than 7 years, and the Section 41A notice is read with Anesh Kumar, and until judgment, there has to be a triple S that has to be satisfied, which is that the person has to be does not have to be a flight risk. In fact, he should not tamper with the evidence, or in fact and cooperate in the investigation, is something that was being argued by Mr. Singhvi. However, the court did not go into the merits of this particular case and clearly said that since he has approached the court directly without exercising his earlier remedies, the topmost court of the country is not concerned with the merits of the case at this point of time. But another line of argument that was adopted by Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi continuously before the topmost court of the country, before bench headed by Chief Justice of India, Dhananjay Yashwant Chandrachud and Justice P.S. Narasimhan, was that he is somebody who is holding 18 portfolios. He's a very important minister, and all these allegations belong to a multi-level decision making of the excise policy. And if you remember that they are challenging the orders of the trial court, which were very, very clear, and we had broken out it for our viewers yesterday, wherein the court had noted that not only there is, in fact, a statement by people who were connected with Manish Sisodia, who were, in fact, his subordinates, but there is also documentary evidence that leads that Manish Sisodia had an active role to play into this whole particular case. And in fact, I'll read down those observations for you that the trial court had made yesterday. The trial court, and I quote, "Some of his subordinates are found to have disclosed certain facts which can be taken as incriminating against him, and some documentary against him has already surfaced, and a proper and fair investigation requires that some genuine, legitimate answers to the question being put to him about the same are to be found, and hence, in considered opinion of this court, this can only be done during a custodial interrogation of the accused." And the court had then granted 4 days of police custody remand. The police custody remand was granted till March 4. In fact, the court also noted that though it has been observed that the accused has joined the investigation of the case on 2 earlier occasions, but it has also been observed that he has failed to provide satisfactory answers to most of the questions put to him during examination and interrogation conducted, and has thus failed to legitimately explain the incriminating evidence which are against him. The court, while balancing this particular order, also asked the investigation agency, and in order to give away any kind of a third-degree torture, in order to give away any kind of a possibility of a third degree, the court said that he should be interrogated, since he is the Deputy Chief Minister of the national capital and somebody who holds political and important constitutional posts. He is somebody who should be interrogated under CCTV surveillance, and definitely there should be a professional manner in which he has to be investigated, since he also holds a very, very dignitary post. So what happens next? What is the next legal recourse that is adopted by the legal team?
That was Ananya getting us the very latest of what's transpired in the Supreme Court. What is going to be the next course of action for Manish Sisodia and his legal team? We'll try and get you details of that as well. But Arunima, my colleague, also continues to be with us. And Arunima, this is only going to give a fillip to the CBI that is investigating and concentrating on the money trail now to establish if and when and how money exchanged hands, because there is no recovery that has been made so far, and that is something that the Aam Aadmi Party has been repeatedly pointing to, that you claim that money exchanged hands, but there's absolutely no evidence to point to that.
Yes, and that's what Mr. Sisodia himself has said, that you have carried out multiple searches. You have searched my official residence, you have searched my bank lockers, you have searched every possible premises associated with me. Not a rupee has been found. So what are you accusing me of? Now, when you ask CBI this, they say that they believe Vijay Nair, one of the publicists for the Aam Aadmi Party, was a close associate of Mr. Kejriwal and Mr. Sisodia, and there is evidence to suggest that he was getting into these deals on behalf of Mr. Sisodia. That's the charge. If you see the FIR, Mr. Manish Sisodia is accused number 1. Now, the criticism of CBI is that you filed a charge sheet and you did not press any charges against accused number 1. So what are you accusing Mr. Sisodia of? CBI today says that they have an approver in Dinesh Arora. Dinesh Arora has told CBI about meetings that happened in March 2021 in Hyderabad, meetings that happened at least 2 hotels. Yes. Here in Delhi, in which South Group was involved, and he has given
sorry to interrupt you there, Arunima. I'll come back to you about that entire South Group link and the investigation in that. But BJP's Amit Malviya joining us on this broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18, sir. How do you look at this? Supreme Court not ready to interfere at this particular time, even going on to say that why rush to the Supreme Court every time, even though there are alternative remedies?
The Supreme Court has made its observation quite obvious, but what is more important here is that the merits of the case do not warrant that Sisodia be given bail. That is something that is getting more and more evident. He has been sent to CBI custody. He will have to be there, and CBI would get to interrogate him. There are a lot of incriminating evidence, first-person account, people who've turned approver. There is a big nexus between Manish Sisodia's party and some parties in southern India. There is money trail that is on anvil here, and therefore this entire loss to the public exchequer, of which Manish Sisodia is the kingpin, and he did all of this at the behest of Arvind Kejriwal, is now getting more and more evident and obvious. It's perhaps time the matter is taken to its logical conclusion, and this entire political rhetoric that the Aam Aadmi Party indulges in is exposed completely.
Mr. Malviya, the money trail that you've also been speaking of, the Aam Aadmi Party insists that the CBI claims that money exchanged hands, but there's absolutely no recovery made. There is no proof to point to that, which is why the arrest is not warranted.
Who is the Aam Aadmi Party to make these claims? Are they the judge? Are they the investigator? Who are they? They will obviously make these unsubstantiated claims about no money being exchanged. You think this entire loss to the exchequer happened without money being exchanged? You think Manish Sisodia was doing a charitable exercise while he was unleashing this excise policy, which was meant to benefit a small cartel of wholesalers who were routing the money back to the Aam Aadmi Party? I mean, there is clear collusion, cartelization. There is a loss to the treasury. There is a violation of protocols. There is a violation of set procedures in such matters. And it has all been done to benefit a few big wholesalers. And clearly this entire string of events will connect from South India all the way to Punjab, where the Aam Aadmi Party is in government. There's already demand for a CBI inquiry in the liquor policy in Punjab, and there are people who have been questioned in South. Leaders of TRS, Kavita Rao, incidentally, the daughter of the Chief Minister of Telangana, is under radar.
Yes.
So clearly this is a big nexus playing out here, and public is being duped. Public exchequer is put to loss to benefit a few private individuals so that they can route the money back to the Aam Aadmi Party. It's as clear as that.
Right. So there has been no takers really for the arguments that have been put by the legal team of Manish Sisodia yesterday at the Rouse Avenue Court and today at the Supreme Court. Amit Malviya, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. But Manish Sisodia and the Aam Aadmi Party is not going to budge, because the latest that we are gathering is that the party is going to go to the Delhi High Court now over Manish Sisodia's arrest. The same plea that they had put forth in the Supreme Court, which is not being entertained, is perhaps now going to be put forth in front of the Delhi High Court. Remember, the Supreme Court had made it clear that for everything, you cannot be rushing to the highest court of the country. There are alternative remedies, which is what Manish Sisodia and his team should look at. Now we are given to understand that that alternative remedy is something that Aam Aadmi Party is immediately going to avail of. Anshul, my colleague, getting us more details on that. Yes, Anshul.
So yes, what we are being told is that the Aam Aadmi Party has now decided to move the High Court, as has been said by the Supreme Court in this entire matter, and this is we are picking up from the source of ANI, and yes, it remains to be seen when will the Aam Aadmi Party decide to move the High Court, because yes, the legal remedy that the Supreme Court was talking about, that was about moving the High Court. But yes, we need more confirmation on when will this application be moved, or if at all this application is going to be moved, because yes, the manner in which the Supreme Court has rejected their entire plea and saying that this is not the right forum to come out and appeal, since the matter is happening in Delhi, you cannot directly come to the Supreme Court, and hence it is going to set a wrong precedent. But yes, if you see the precedents in such cases where the CBI has taken anyone into remand, it is almost zero cases have been found where any sort of relief has been given during the remand. It is only when the person is sent to the judicial custody then some sort of relief could be given from the appropriate forum. So yes, the Aam Aadmi Party also knows it, the legal team of the Aam Aadmi Party also knows it, that since he is in remand, it is very, very unlikely that any sort of relief could be granted to him by any court, because the CBI has clearly stated that they have the requisite evidences that actually incriminate Manish Sisodia to this entire case, and hence the custodial interrogation of Manish Sisodia is very, very important, because yes, he has came ahead and joined the investigations whenever he has been asked to. But yes, he has remained evasive in all the answers he has given, in most of the answers that he has been given. So yes, it is very unlikely that any sort of relief might be granted. But yes, we need to confirm as to when will the Aam Aadmi Party decide to move the High Courts, and if at all the Aam Aadmi Party is going to take this decision to move the High Court.
Yes, so whether they are now going to knock on the doors of the High Court or not, and when that happens, we'll keep an eye out. But Congress's Alka Lamba now joining us on this broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. The Supreme Court has also now turned down the plea of Manish Sisodia and his legal team. How do you view that?
मैं स्वागत करती हूँ। इसी चीज की उम्मीद थी। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 5 मिनट नहीं लगाए अपना फैसला सुना दिया। सीबीआई द्वारा मनीष सिसोदिया के अरेस्ट को जो है वो सही ठहराते हुए राहत देने से साफ इनकार कर दिया। उम्मीद करते हैं सीबीआई को अब 4 मार्च तक का अरेस्ट मिला हुआ है। दूध का दूध पानी का पानी करें, दिल्ली और देश के सामने भ्रष्ट शराब नीति की सच्चाई लेकर आए।
अलका लांबा जी, आम आदमी पार्टी का ये कहना है कि सीबीआई कह रही है कि काफी पैसों की लेन देन हुई थी, बट ये पैसे है कहाँ? रिकवरीज कोई हुई नहीं है, कोऑपरेशन पूरा रहा है मनीष सिसोदिया की तरफ से, फिर भी उन्हें अरेस्ट किया गया है, इसीलिए वो अरेस्ट इल्लीगल है।
देखिए, ये लीगल है इलीगल है, ये तो अब कानूनी कार्रवाई शुरू हो चुकी है ना। अब इसे क्यों छटपटा रहे हैं? अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने तो कहा था मनीष भ्रष्ट है तो गिरफ्तार करिए, सीबीआई की जांच करवाइए, है ना। अब सीबीआई की जांच हो रही है, और वो भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी छोड़ दीजिए, चीफ सेक्रेटरी ऑफ दिल्ली सरकार के मुख्य सचिव ने जांच में पाया भ्रष्टाचार हुआ है। एलजी को लिखा, एलजी ने अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सिफारिश पे कि सीबीआई से जांच करा लीजिए, गिरफ्तार कर लीजिए, कर दिया। अब ये छटपटा रहे हैं। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी माना है कि आप गलत आए, आप हाई कोर्ट पे क्यों नहीं विश्वास रखते, आप हाई कोर्ट क्यों नहीं गए? सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने साफ राहत देने से इनकार कर दिया और सीबीआई की रिमांड को सही बताते हुए राहत नहीं दी है। हमें खुशी है। सीबीआई को अब जल्द निष्पक्षता के साथ फास्ट ट्रैक पे दूध का दूध पानी का पानी करके दिल्ली देश के सामने सच्चाई लानी चाहिए।
जी, अलका लांबा जी, धन्यवाद हमसे बात करने के लिए। The opposition there, rivals of the Aam Aadmi Party, welcoming this decision coming from the Supreme Court. BJP too reacting. Let's listen in.
कोर्ट आ जाते हैं बार-बार।
माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने आम आदमी पार्टी को आईना दिखाया है। उन्होंने बताया है कि जिस कोर्ट में मुकदमा चल रहा है वहीं जाइए और वहीं आपकी सुनवाई होगी। लेकिन मैं एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं कि आखिर इसकी ज़रूरत क्या थी? कल ही तो हाईकोर्ट का निर्णय आया था, 5 दिन का रिमांड है, मनीष सिसोदिया को बोलने दीजिए। लेकिन मेरी जो जानकारी है, मनीष सिसोदिया जांच से बचना चाहते हैं, वो जवाब देना नहीं चाहते, लेकिन न्यायिक एजेंसी अपना काम कर रही है। और अरविंद केजरीवाल और उनकी जितनी भी टीम है, जितना मर्जी हो हल्ला कर लें, अल्टीमेटली सच सामने आएगा।
और जो एजेंसीज है वो मिले हुए हैं, उसको मिसयूज कर रहे हैं। आप कोर्ट का जो फैसला आया है इसको लेकर भी आप पार्टी अब हमलावर होने वाली है।
अगर वो उच्चतम न्यायालय के फैसले के बाद भी न्यायालय के निर्णयों के ऊपर उंगली उठाते हैं तो ये उनके करैक्टर को दिखाता है। अरविंद केजरीवाल, आम आदमी पार्टी, पूरी टीम जो है उनका काम है झूठ बोलना, झूठा प्रचार करना। लेकिन शराब का घोटाला, दिल्ली के युवाओं को नशे में डुबोने का जो काम अरविंद केजरीवाल और उसकी पार्टी कर रही थी, लेकिन अब इस घोटाले से वो बच नहीं पाएंगे और निस्संदेह न्यायालय अपना काम करेगा, न्यायिक एजेंसी अपना काम कर रही है।
इसकी लगाने वाली है, जब कॉन्फ्रेंस करेगी तब का एलिगेशन है बीजेपी पे लगाने वाली है, क्योंकि ये कहा जा रहा लगातार कि अगर रिहाई नहीं होती है तो आप पार्टी प्रदर्शन भी करेगी, और जो कल भी किया था।
लोकतंत्र में प्रदर्शन करना सबका अधिकार है, लेकिन वो क्या आरोप लगाएंगे क्या नहीं लगाएंगे, संभावनाओं पे क्या जवाब देना। लेकिन सबको मालूम है, दिल्ली की जनता का बच्चा बच्चा कह रहा है कि स्कूलों के पास, मंदिरों के पास शराब के ठेके खोलने की जरूरत क्या थी।
मनीष सिसोदिया से जरा सी भी हमदर्दी रख रहे हैं, उन सभी लोगों से मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि वो इस बात को समझ लें कि ये सीधे के सीधे ओपन एंड शट भ्रष्टाचार का मामला है, और ये बहुत बड़ा दिल्ली के अंदर शराब का, लिकर का स्कैम हुआ है। इसको उस तरीके से देखना चाहिए। हम लोगों को ये बताना चाहते हैं, केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी ये कह रहे हैं कि इनके साथ में बहुत बेइंसाफी हो रही है। क्या बेइंसाफी हो रही है इनके साथ में? इन्होंने खुद ने 4 सितंबर 2020 को मनीष सिसोदिया ने, इनकी सरकार ने एक कमेटी बनाई कि कमेटी बताए कि एक्साइज पॉलिसी में क्या चेंज होने चाहिए। कमेटी ने जो रिपोर्ट दी ठीक उसका उल्टा कर दिया कि ताकि भ्रष्टाचार हो सके। कमेटी ने ये कहा कि आप होलसेल की जो भी इसकी होलसेल का ट्रेड है उसको सरकार अपने हाथ में ले ले, जैसे कर्नाटक के अंदर होता है। इन्होंने उसकी जगह होलसेल का सरकार अपने पास में ले ले, इसकी जगह 6% पहले कमीशन होता था उसको बढ़ा करके 12% कमीशन कर दिया। और ये पूरी तरीके से एस्टैब्लिश हो चुका है कि उस 12% के अंदर 6% वापस इन लोगों ने ले लिया। तो जब करप्शन इन्होंने किया, 6% होलसेल को बढ़ा करके कमीशन को 12% कर दिया, इनकी अपनी ही द्वारा कमेटी बनाई हुई कमेटी ने कहा कि इसको निजीकरण मत करिए, इसको सरकार के खुद के अपने हाथ में लेना चाहिए, तो ये करप्शन नहीं है तो क्या है। और वो पैसा कम से कम 100 करोड़ का मनी ट्रेल मिल गया, जो कि पैसा इन्होंने गोवा के चुनाव में कांग्रेस के खिलाफ में लड़ा। तो जो कांग्रेस के तमाम नेता हैं, मैं उनसे बताना चाहूंगा कि ये पैसा कांग्रेस के खिलाफ में आम आदमी पार्टी ने इस्तेमाल किया, इस चीज को समझे। ये पैसा देश विरोधी लोगों के साथ में मिल करके उनकी मदद करने के लिए आम आदमी पार्टी ने खर्च किया, इस चीज को ये लोग समझे। और इसी कमेटी ने रिपोर्ट ये कहा कि जो रिटेल सेक्टर है वो एक से ज्यादा किसी को नहीं दिया जाना चाहिए ताकि मोनोपोली ना हो सके, और उन्होंने ठीक इसका उल्टा किया। इसी कमेटी ने कहा कि इस रिटेल सेक्टर में एक एक को ऑक्शन में दिया जाना चाहिए, उसको पहले रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए लोगों से आमंत्रित किया जाना चाहिए। रजिस्ट्रेशन के माध्यम से अगर 50,000 या 1 लाख रुपया रखेंगे तो 1,000 करोड़ रुपया सरकार कमाएगी, इस कमेटी का यह कहना था। और इन्होंने उसको नहीं कहा, उन्होंने इसको इसके अंदर भी मोनोपोलाइजेशन कर दिया। हुआ ये कि जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स से लेकर मैन्युफैक्चरर्स, उन्होंने कंपनी अपनी ही कोई कंपनी और नहीं बना करके उन्होंने होलसेलर बना दिया, अपनी तीसरी कंपनी बना करके उन्होंने रिटेलर बना दिया। वही मैन्युफैक्चरर्स होलसेलर बन गए, वही होलसेलर रिटेलर बन गए, और सबका सब मोनोपोली के अंदर लेकर के उन लोगों ने करप्शन इसमें किया है, जो पूरी तरीके से एस्टैब्लिश हुआ है। तो कोई ये ना सोचे इसके अंदर कि ये वही आम आदमी पार्टी है जिसने भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ लड़ाई लड़ी। दुख की बात यह है कि आम आदमी पार्टी, जिसका निर्माण इसलिए हुआ था कि वो लोकपाल बनाएगा, आज लोकपाल भूल गए हैं और लिकर के अंदर, शराब के अंदर, इसी काम के अंदर वो लोग लग गए हैं। ये बड़े दुख की बात है। और इस
Both the Congress and the BJP welcoming the denial of relief to Manish Sisodia by the Supreme Court, going on to say that law is taking its course and the CBI will unearth this massive corruption, this massive scandal in the heart of the national capital. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on CNN News 18, but slipping into a quick break for now.
Biggest questions that the Aam Aadmi Party has yet to answer.
See, what the Aam Aadmi Party has maintained is that the reason excise policy was withdrawn is because they also realized that there were lacunas. What they say, however, is that this was an oversight and not a crime. What the CBI is now trying to underline is that there was quid pro quo, which immediately makes it a crime under the Prevention of Corruption Act. The number that they're putting out, quid pro quo, is 100 crore to start with. They're saying 100 crore advance kickback was paid. And as per them, Vijay Nair and Dinesh Arora were the main conduits, the two people who have been named as close associates of Manish Sisodia. So their charge is that you change the excise policy, you increase the profit margin to 12% because you wanted the liquor manufacturers who were getting the L1 license to give back the kickback, the 12% profit margin. Out of that, 6% would be redirected to Aam Aadmi Party associates and their accounts, and this money would then be utilized to fund AAP's election campaign. That's the charge that CBI is making. What do they have so far in terms of proof to back that charge? They claim that in terms of Goa election funding, they have receipts to suggest that people who were advertising or allowing AAP to use their hoardings, they were asked to put on paper deflated bills, and the rest of the payment, the balance payment, was made in cash. They're alleging Hawala transaction proof is available. They're also alleging that cash payment of 70 lakh rupees was made. Now, out of 100 crore that they're alleging so far, only 70 lakh expenditure has been stated. At another place, they say that 20 to 30 crore upfront payment was made right at the start of 2021 in a meeting that happened in Hyderabad between the South Group and Vijay Nair. So these figures have been thrown, but do they have enough paper trail, enough witnesses? And if you have to prove the money trail, you need to complete the chain of criminal conspiracy. And that's what they say. They want to question Manish Sisodia about. That was this entire money used in Goa, or has this been stashed somewhere else? There has been a lot of speculations about the way Punjab elections were funded as well. So right now, there are charges, there are allegations, there are some proof. CBI still has to go a long way to complete the chain of criminal conspiracy to tie down Manish Sisodia.
Over the last few days, in a massive setback, to the Delhi Aam Aadmi Party government. The Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, the number 2 in charge, the key aide to Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, in charge of 18 portfolios in the Delhi government, has now been sent to 5 days of CBI custody. That is until March 4th. Now, he is going to be in court. The CBI has argued in court yesterday that Sisodia generated illegal profits via a liquor policy in a secret conspiracy with top liquor barons. You'll remember that the liquor policy they're referring to is a liquor policy introduced by the Delhi government last year. It was introduced and then just a few weeks after rescinded once again. Now, there were many allegations made against the Aam Aadmi Party government, all of which they've refuted, and we'll get into that in just a second. But the CBI also argued that custodial interrogation is essential. Essentially, they've said they need to have Sisodia in front of them to ask him the right questions. They've also said Sisodia is being evasive. Now, Sisodia, on the other hand, has said that the liquor policy was totally above the table. He's also said it was cleared by the LG in 2021. He's also added that he has replied and come for all the rounds of questioning. The round of questioning we saw on Sunday in which he was arrested was only the second round of questioning, and he said he had appeared both times and cooperated with the agency.
पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी, केंद्र की मोदी सरकार जिसका कंट्रोल, जिसके इशारे पर यह सारा खेल हो रहा है, पूरी भाजपा चुप है, पूरी केंद्र सरकार चुप है, पूरी सीबीआई चुप है, पूरी ईडी चुप है। ये राजनीतिक प्रतिद्वंदिता के तहत, गंदी राजनीति के तहत ये सारा खेल हो रहा है।
पापी आपको भी पता है कि एक्यूज नंबर 1 कट्टर बेईमान है, और आज ये आदेश आने के बाद ये बात सिद्ध हो गई है।
चाहिए थी जब इनके शराब घोटाले वाले मंत्री, लूट की खुली छूट अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार में थी। मनीष सिसोदिया जी आरोपी नंबर 1 हो सकते हैं, लेकिन किंग पिन अरविंद केजरीवाल है, और सीबीआई ने पूरी जांच करने के बाद उनकी गिरफ्तारी की है। जांच में सहयोग करना चाहिए।
कल की हमारी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देखिए, कल ही हमने बता दिया था कि सीबीआई आज कोर्ट में पेश करेगी तो कस्टोडियल इंट्रोगेशन के नाम पे 5 दिन की रिमांड, हमने दिन भी बताया कितने दिन की रिमांड मांगी जाएगी, 5 दिन की रिमांड मांगी जाएगी। और ये स्टेप 1 है, स्टेप 2 क्या होगा, 3 सब बताया था। और बता क्यों पाए थे? क्योंकि ये सारी स्क्रिप्ट जो सीबीआई कह रही है या कर रही है, सारी स्क्रिप्ट जो है ना भारतीय जनता पार्टी के दफ्तर में बैठ के लिखी गई है। सीबीआई, इनकम टैक्स, ईडी, दिल्ली की पुलिस, ये सारे भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अनुषांगिक संगठन के तौर पे प्रकोष्ठ होते हैं, यूथ विंग, महिला विंग, बिल्कुल वैसे ही फ्रंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के तौर पे बीजेपी के काम कर रहे हैं।
सिर्फ और सिर्फ राजनीतिक कारणों से और अपने घोटालों पर पर्दा डालने के लिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने मनीष सिसोदिया को गिरफ्तार किया है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार, जो पूरे देश में सबसे बेहतरीन काम कर रही है, अनुकरणीय काम कर रही है, लोगों को फ्री बिजली देना, फ्री शिक्षा देना, फ्री स्वास्थ्य की व्यवस्था देना, बुजुर्गों की तीर्थ यात्रा कराना, दरअसल यह गले की हड्डी बन गया नरेंद्र मोदी जी की। वो नहीं चाहते कि देश के अंदर एक ऐसी सरकार चले जो दुनिया और देश के लिए उदाहरण बने। परेशानी यह है, जो दिल्ली सरकार की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, अरविंद केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, उससे बौखला कर यह कार्रवाई की जा रही है। ये तानाशाही की इंतहा है।
Right. Ashish Mehrishi, who covers all of these developments, is with us this morning to bring us context on the entire case. Ashish, good morning. We witnessed a dramatic few days for the Aam Aadmi Party government. Ashish, can you walk us through what took place in court yesterday? Can you also walk us through what the next 5 days of remand with the CBI are going to look like for the Deputy Chief Minister?
So, if you see what the CBI said in the court was, and in fact what they wanted, they got. They wanted 5 days custody, they were given 5-day custody, and they were given this custody on merit. Reason being that there's some evidence and some testimonies as well, where, people who were occupying senior positions in the Delhi government, they were basically, they basically spilled the beans before the CBI, and they told on how last moment and abrupt changes in the policy were done. And in fact, there are certain evidence which shows that the policy was drafted and crafted in a South Delhi hotel. In fact,
Welcome back. We are staying with a big story, and that's the relief that has been denied by the Supreme Court to Manish Sisodia, and the Aam Aadmi Party is already in a huddle. Sources are now telling CNN News 18 that a meeting is going to be held by Sisodia's legal team in the evening to deliberate on what the next course of action is going to be. What we're learning from our sources within the Aam Aadmi Party's legal team is that there are two main remedies that Manish Sisodia can avail. Which one is the best way forward is something that a decision needs to be taken on, and that is something that this meeting will decide. Which is why senior lawyers of Manish Sisodia, the ones who appeared for him yesterday at the Rouse Avenue Court, and of course Abhishek Manu Singhvi and the team that assisted him today in the Supreme Court, all of them will be in a huddle in just a short while from now to discuss and decide what the next course of action is going to be. Remember, for another 4 days, Manish Sisodia is going to be in CBI custody. For now, what we're learning from our sources within the Aam Aadmi Party and their legal team is that the choice is between two remedies. One, whether to approach the trial court for bail, or the other is to go to the Delhi High Court in a criminal appeal. Ananya, my colleague, now joining us to get us more details. Ananya, what more details can you share with us? What insight do you have from Sisodia's legal team?
Well, our sources tell us that there would be a meeting that would be held in the evening today, just now, from the Supreme Court. All of these lawyers must have left because the orders would have just been passed, and the Supreme Court would have given them a clear instruction that, we cannot entertain this Article 32 petition at this stage, and it would be very, very wrong on its precedent to actually intervene directly into a particular matter. And the Supreme Court too said that they should exercise their remedy before the Delhi High Court or the trial court by exercising bail. In fact, they also sought a direction that the trial court may decide the bail expeditiously. However, the Supreme Court just said that it's not entertaining the petition and did not give any other relief. And now the sources are telling us that they would be deliberating upon this particular this particular issue, that whether or not to approach the High Court or to approach the trial court is something that would be discussed by, in fact, the legal team of Manish Sisodia. Remember that he has two major options before him. One is to file a bail application before, the trial court seeking a bail into this particular case, which is a little difficult because, remember, the investigation of Manish Sisodia is still at a very, very nascent stage, and a bail is very feasible only after the person has been sent to judicial custody, while on the other hand, the option to actually approach the High Court in a criminal appeal is something that is way more sensible, because, this is an order of a special CBI judge who holds the power of both a magistrate and a sessions judge, and the appeal that is there against such an order is before the Delhi High Court into a criminal appeal. So we'll have to wait and watch as to how things pan out and what decision is taken by the legal team of Aam Aadmi Party. But at this point of time, they would be deliberating upon all of these legal options and thinking as to whether or not to approach the High Court or the trial court.
Right, they will have to choose what they do next very, very carefully, given that the Supreme Court has pulled them up exactly for this, for trying to rush to the Supreme Court even when there are alternative remedies that are available. But the setback coming to the fore for Manish Sisodia and the Aam Aadmi Party, the party is now reacting to what just transpired in the Supreme Court. Let's listen in.
हाई कोर्ट अभी जा सकते हैं, आपके पास इन सीढ़ियों के बीच में एक सीढ़ी है, तो आप पहले उस सीढ़ी पे जो है अपनी बात रखिए, और मुझे लगता है ये बात ठीक है, इसके अंदर कोई गलत बात नहीं है। तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि आप माननीय हाई कोर्ट के पास अपनी बात रखें, तो हम हाई कोर्ट के अंदर जो है अब जाएंगे और अपनी बात रखेंगे, और हमें पूरा यकीन है कि कोर्ट जो है हमें रिलीफ देगा।
तो लगता है कि जल्दबाजी में ये अति उत्साह में सुप्रीम कोर्ट चले गए, जबकि हाई कोर्ट का रास्ता था बीच में। उम्मीद थी कि पहले जाना चाहिए था, लेकिन डायरेक्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाना लगता है कि कदम सही नहीं था।
देखिए, हमारे तो उप मुख्यमंत्री जेल में हैं, कोई क्रिमिनल, कोई जेब कतरा, कोई स्मगलर, वो कोई नए जेल में। 18 विभाग रखने वाले दिल्ली के उप मुख्यमंत्री जेल में हैं। हम तो हर जगह अर्जी लगाएंगे, हम तो सबसे ऊपर भगवान के यहां भी अर्जी लगाएंगे। हम ये नहीं सोचेंगे कि नहीं पहले लोअर कोर्ट चले जाएं, हाई कोर्ट चले जाएं, हम तो सबसे ऊपर भगवान के आगे अर्जी लगा रहे हैं रात से कि भगवान कुछ करे। तो इसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो कहा है वो हम करेंगे।
तो क्या आम आदमी पार्टी भगवान भरोसे है?
देखिए, पूरी दुनिया भगवान भरोसे है।
More news now trickling in, and from our sources within the CBI, CNN News 18 has learnt that the CBI is confident of the case that they have against Manish Sisodia. This, of course, comes in the backdrop of the fact that the Supreme Court decided not to entertain the plea against the arrest of Manish Sisodia. Also, the fact that all 5 days of custody that was sought by the CBI was granted to them by the Rouse Avenue Court yesterday. Arunima, my colleague, getting us more details on that. Arunima, what else have you learned from your sources within the agency?
Well, as the legal team of Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Sisodia were planning to approach the court once again to quash the arrest, CBI officials appear very confident of their case. They say that this was argued at the Rouse Avenue Court and this was upheld by the court there, whether the grounds of arrest were right or wrong. Then Krishnan, the advocate who was representing Mr. Sisodia, and the other lawyers tried to argue, and Abhishek Manu Singhvi too, in his capacity as a senior counsel, had tweeted just on the day of the arrest. And what were the grounds on which they challenged CBI's decision to arrest? Number one, that the man in question is not a flight risk. He is a Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi. He has appeared before CBI whenever he was asked to appear, and therefore arresting him was meaningless, especially in a case in which it is paper trail which would lead to completing the chain of criminal conspiracy. It is not a crime like murder or rape where you want to question the person, the accused, in custody. So those were the arguments that were made by those defending Manish Sisodia. CBI points out that first the Rouse Avenue Court rejected this, and now the Supreme Court of India too has rejected those arguments. Rouse Avenue appreciated the fact that Manish Sisodia appeared when summoned, but also said that the answers that he gave were not perhaps seen as cooperating with investigation. Now, what is the answer that CBI has found missing? Why do they feel that they have a right to interrogate him in custody? Number one, they say CRPC section 41A gives them the right to the investigating officer to carry out custodial interrogation. Number two, there's a crucial file which is missing, the file which had the initial draft of the GOM. When the excise policy was formed, there was a number of back and forth. There was an expert committee that was formed, there were legal advice that was taken, then a first draft of the GOM was set up, and then finally the second draft which led to the excise policy getting approved. The file which showed all of this back and forth is missing, and Mr. Sisodia, CBI says, when he was asked during interrogation, where is that file, who did you give it to? If you say you gave it to your secretary, or you say you gave it to excise department bureaucrat, then we can question it or track down the file, but he only says, I don't know. So that answer CBI feels is not satisfactory, and they want to confront him with the evidence that they have, with witness account that they have, and that's why they feel they are on solid grounds to carry out arrest. The second ground on which they feel they will be able to convince the court is this, that there were 36 pages which were printed at the business center of a Delhi hotel by the South group, the co-accused in the group. While the CBI is at this stage not saying that the same identical 36 pages were presented as the excise policy by Mr. Sisodia, they do point out to the similarities between the number of pages. Both had 36 pages. There is a testimony by his PA saying, then personal assistant saying that Mr. Sisodia told him to include this particular document in the draft. So they want to ask him whether there was a conspiracy by the South group, and on these grounds CBI is quite confident that there is no question of any court of law setting aside their right. They're quite confident that this arrest is not unlawful and is within their right under CRPC 41A.
Right, so the CBI is confident of the case that they have. They have another 4 days during which they have the custody of Manish Sisodia, but the legal battle is going to continue. The political war, of course, continues on the sidelines. But Ananya and Arunima, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. A quick break on this edition, but there's lots lined up for you on Nation at 5, so don't go anywhere.
That as well. So if it was increase in the profit margin for the wholesalers from 5% to 12%, if it was the money, if it was the trade going into the private hands, that's the wholesale trade going into the private hands from the government company, all these decisions were abrupt decisions, and the allegation against Manish Sisodia is that it was done at the behest of the South lobby, because there was an upfront payment of around 100 crore rupees. Now, the CBI and the ED have been able to track down some payment, because Dinesh Arora, one of the close associates, the former close associates of Manish Sisodia, has spilled the beans before the CBI, has turned out to be a witness and told that huge amount of cash was coming from the South to Delhi, and further it was being handed over to people who was handling, the election campaigning in Goa. Now here, if you remember, Chariot, the owner of Chariot Media has been arrested. Chariot Media was one of the companies which was doing business with Aam Aadmi Party in Goa. And it has, one of their colleagues, one of their employees, Manaswini, has given a statement that, volunteers were distributed cash in Goa for campaigning. And that cash was basically coming from none other than the liquor kickback. That is what the allegation is. So, the kind of evidence the CBI had in their hand, the kind of testimonies they had in their hand, the kind of statements they had in their hand, based on those and the kind of reaction that Manish Sisodia gave to questioning, that was the reason that 5 days of custody has been granted to the CBI. So it's going to be interesting 5 days because on the 5th of March, he has to be produced before the court. Let's see what comes now after the questioning is over in CBI custody.
Arunima, could you just, if we just take a step away from what Ashish told us, if we had to look at this entire situation in an overview, can you tell our audiences, we know the Aam Aadmi Party broadly is saying, look, these are all allegations that are false. But what are the biggest questions that the Aam Aadmi Party has yet to answer?
See, what the Aam Aadmi Party has maintained is that the reason excise policy was withdrawn is because they also realized that there were lacunas. What they say, however, is that this was an oversight and not a crime. What the CBI is now trying to underline is that there was quid pro quo, which immediately makes it a crime under the Prevention of Corruption Act. The number that they're putting out, quid pro quo, is 100 crore to start with. They're saying 100 crore advance kickback was paid. And as per them, Vijay Nair and Dinesh Arora were the main conduits, the two people who have been named as close associates of Manish Sisodia. So their charge is that you change the excise policy, you increase the profit margin to 12% because you wanted the liquor manufacturers who were getting the L1 license to give back the kickback, the 12% profit margin. Out of that, 6% would be redirected to Aam Aadmi Party associates and their accounts, and this money would then be utilized to fund AAP's election campaign. That's the charge that CBI is making. What do they have so far in terms of proof to back that charge? They claim that in terms of Goa election funding, they have receipts to suggest that people who were advertising or allowing AAP to use their hoardings, they were asked to put on paper deflated bills, and the rest of the payment, the balance payment, was made in cash. They're alleging Hawala transaction proof is available. They're also alleging that cash payment of 70 lakh rupees was made. Now, out of 100 crore that they're alleging so far, only 70 lakh expenditure has been stated. At another place, they say that 20 to 30 crore upfront payment was made right at the start of 2021 in a meeting that happened in Hyderabad between the South Group and Vijay Nair. So these figures have been thrown, but do they have enough paper trail, enough witnesses? And if you have to prove the money trail, you need to complete the chain of criminal conspiracy. And that's what they say. They want to question Manish Sisodia about. That was this entire money used in Goa, or has this been stashed somewhere else? There has been a lot of speculations about the way Punjab elections were funded as well. So right now, there are charges, there are allegations, there are some proof. CBI still has to go a long way to complete the chain of criminal conspiracy to tie down Manish Sisodia.
Over the last few days, in a massive setback to the Delhi Aam Aadmi Party government, the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, the number 2 in charge, the key aide to Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, in charge of 18 portfolios in the Delhi government, has now been sent to 5 days of CBI custody. That is until March 4th. Now, he is going to be in court. The CBI has argued in court yesterday that Sisodia generated illegal profits via a liquor policy in a secret conspiracy with top liquor barons. You'll remember that the liquor policy they're referring to is a liquor policy introduced by the Delhi government last year. It was introduced and then just a few weeks after rescinded once again. Now, there were many allegations made against the Aam Aadmi Party government, all of which they've refuted, and we'll get into that in just a second. But the CBI also argued that custodial interrogation is essential. Essentially, they've said they need to have Sisodia in front of them to ask him the right questions. They've also said Sisodia is being evasive. Now, Sisodia, on the other hand, has said that the liquor policy was totally above the table. He's also said it was cleared by the LG in 2021. He's also added that he has replied and come for all the rounds of questioning. The round of questioning we saw on Sunday in which he was arrested was only the second round of questioning, and he said he had appeared both times and cooperated with the agency.
पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी केंद्र की मोदी सरकार जिसका कंट्रोल, जिसके इशारे पर यह सारा खेल हो रहा है, पूरी भाजपा चुप है, पूरी केंद्र सरकार चुप है, पूरी सीबीआई चुप है, पूरी ईडी चुप है। ये राजनीतिक प्रतिद्वंदिता के तहत, गंदी राजनीति के तहत ये सारा खेल हो रहा है।
पापी आपको भी पता है कि एक्यूज नंबर 1 कट्टर बेईमान है, और आज ये आदेश आने के बाद ये बात सिद्ध हो गई है।
लगानी चाहिए थी जब इनके शराब घोटाले वाले मंत्री लूट की खुली छूट अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार में थी। मनीष सिसोदिया जी आरोपी नंबर 1 हो सकते हैं, लेकिन किंग पिन अरविंद केजरीवाल है, और सीबीआई ने पूरी जांच करने के बाद उनकी गिरफ्तारी की है। जांच में सहयोग करना चाहिए।
कल की हमारी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देखिए, कल ही हमने बता दिया था कि सीबीआई आज कोर्ट में पेश करेगी, तो कस्टोडियल इंट्रोगेशन के नाम पे 5 दिन की रिमांड, हमने दिन भी बताया कितने दिन की रिमांड मांगी जाएगी, 5 दिन की रिमांड।
और उसका नंबर वही था कागजों का जो नंबर होटल के फोटोकॉपी का था। और फिर आपके एक ग्रुप ने कहा कि नहीं ये भी नहीं ठीक है, ये भी बदलाव कर दीजिए, तो भी भेज दिया गया। हम मेरिट पे बिल्कुल नहीं जा रहे हैं, हम सीधा कह रहे हैं सीबीआई ने क्या आरोप लगाया है, उसके क्या एविडेंस आए हैं। एविडेंस डिजिटल है, एविडेंस फिजिकल है। देयर इज डिजिटल एविडेंस एंड देयर आल्सो फिजिकल एविडेंस। अब मुझे यहां आके एक खबर मिली कि जो वीआईपी लोग थे उन्होंने 170 फोन बदला। शायद मनीष सिसोदिया ने भी 16 फोन बदला। अब तो मैं देश का थोड़ा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मंत्री रहा हूं, संचार मंत्री रहा हूं, तो मेरी भी आश्चर्य है अनिल बाबू कि एक नेता अपने 16 फोन बदलता है। हाँ? ये तो कमाल है साहब। तो ये फोन क्यों बदले जा रहे थे? ये रिकॉर्ड्स क्यों डिलीट किए जा रहे थे? आप तो बिल्कुल पारदर्शिता की प्रतिमूर्ति हैं, यही दावा आप करते हैं कि आप और अरविंद केजरीवाल हिंदुस्तान में एक नई पारदर्शिता को लेकर के आए हुए हैं। This question becomes very relevant, Mr. Sisodia, because whether you or whether your leader, Mr. Kejriwal, they keep on giving certificate of honesty. He is honest, he is dishonest. And you are only deleting. You have shamed Anna Hazare. आपने अन्ना हजारे के ईमानदार आंदोलन की विरासत को बदनाम किया है। और दिल्ली में सबको शराब पिला के क्या करना चाहते हैं आप? कहा था कि हम स्कूल खोलेंगे, आप शराब की दुकान खोल रहे हैं। और थोड़ा मेरा राजनीति का अनुभव है, ये पूरे भारत के देश में कहीं नहीं सुना है कि जो शिक्षा मंत्री है वही शराब मंत्री भी है। ये तो और कमाल की बात है। और जिस तरीके से केजरीवाल साहब को क्या कहा जाए, अभी हम लोग गए थे, अनिल बाबू भी थे गुजरात के चुनाव में, तो वहां देखा उनका भाषण कि आईबी हमको रिपोर्ट दे रही है कि हम स्वीप कर रहे हैं। तो हम दोनों बात कर रहे थे कि आईबी की रिपोर्ट इनको कहां से मिल गई, वो भी स्वीप करने की। तो मालूम है उन लोग की जमानत जब्त हो गई, सुपर स्वीप तो भाजपा कर गई। अब कल देखा उनका ट्वीट पर सर्टिफिकेट आ गया कि सीबीआई के सभी लोग उनकी गिरफ्तारी के पक्ष में नहीं थे, दबाव में गिरफ्तार किया गया। केजरीवाल साहब कितना झूठ बोलेंगे? शराब के मुनाफा और कट और कमीशन के लिए कितना करेंगे? मुझे लगता था कि कट और कमीशन एक ही पार्टी की विरासत है, हाँ? लेकिन आज तो कहना पड़ेगा कि 3C केजरीवाल जी की पार्टी के लिए भी बोलना पड़ेगा। कट, कमीशन, करप्शन। और एक बात, मैं मेरिट पे विस्तार से नहीं जाऊंगा, अगर आपको इतना ही ये पूरी पॉलिसी अच्छी थी तो विड्रॉ क्यों किया था? आप मुझे बता दीजिए। तो ये जितना ये बोलते हैं उतने फंसते हैं, ये तो मैं कह रहा हूं। इसलिए आज का मूल विषय यह है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट से उनकी हार हुई है, उनको कोई रिलीफ नहीं मिला, और जिस तरह से सीबीआई के खिलाफ आरोप, प्रधानमंत्री के खिलाफ आरोप, बिना मतलब का दबाव, और इस बात का हमारे पत्रकार में ध्यान रखें और आपके माध्यम से देश ध्यान रखे, इनके कई नेता जेल में गए हैं, किसी को बेल नहीं मिला है। सत्येंद्र जैन शायद 8-10 महीने से जेल में है ना, उनको बेल नहीं मिला ना, और अब इनका नंबर आया है। तो जैसा काम करोगे वैसे गति होगी। अब इस तरह की ओपन बातें करना, और आज मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि अगर यही बात है तो आप जाइए, क्वेश्चन की बात करिए हाई कोर्ट में, देखते हैं, देखा जाएगा, सीबीआई जवाब देगी अपना। जितना भी विषय मीडिया में आया है उससे स्पष्ट है कि यह करप्शन का टेक्स्ट बुक केस है। आई रिपीट, whatever has appeared in the media, this whole scandal is a textbook case of rampant corruption. और किनके द्वारा? जो देश में ईमानदारी का सर्टिफिकेट बांटते थे। इसलिए आज बीजेपी की ओर से इस विषय को हम देश में उठाएंगे, और ये देश में इसलिए उठाना जरूरी है कि कल वो लोग देश में जो भी उनके कुछ शाखाएं हैं, हमारे नेता, हमारी पार्टी, हमारी सरकार पर बेबुनियाद आरोप लगा रहे थे, आज हम देश को विनम्रता से बताएंगे कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी इनको राहत नहीं मिली। ये सच्चाई है, क्योंकि ये भ्रष्टाचार का टेक्स्ट बुक मामला है। थैंक यू फ्रॉम माय साइड। एनी क्वेश्चन आई एम विलिंग टू। देखिए, जांच पर मुझे कुछ नहीं बोलना है, ये सीबीआई का विषय है, मैं बोलूंगा भी नहीं, मुझे बोलना भी नहीं चाहिए ना। आपने कहा अरविंद केजरीवाल से पूछे बिना कोई काम होता है, तो मैं आपको कहूंगा अरविंद केजरीवाल से पूछे बिना कोई काम करने की हिम्मत कर सकता है क्या? तो रोज आप देखते हैं, बिल्कुल। हाँ, और तो हमने सुना है पंजाब की सरकार भी उनसे पूछ के ही चलती है। हाँ, देखिए, मुझे एक ही बात आपसे कहनी है, नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार भ्रष्टाचार पर जीरो टॉलरेंस, और आप भ्रष्टाचार करेंगे तो कार्रवाई होगी। लेकिन आप कह रहे हैं तो आप मुझे बताइए कि जितने लोग हैं उन सबों के खिलाफ सीबीआई मामले में कोई मामला कोर्ट में गलत साबित हुआ क्या? हम जरा चलते हैं पूरब से, चलिए। बंगाल में क्या हुआ? कौन मंत्री जेल में गए? कितने पैसे निकले? एक संबंधी कोल स्कैम में क्या हुआ? आपके सामने है। रायपुर में क्या हो रहा है? आप मुझे बताइए। मुख्यमंत्री के सलाहकार जेल में है कि नहीं? बेल मिला क्या? झारखंड में क्या हुआ? मेरे अपने प्रदेश बिहार में क्या हुआ? एक महान नेता को जेल हुई कि नहीं? वो अभी ऑपरेशन करा के आए हैं, स्वस्थ हो जाए, मेरी शुभकामना है। लेकिन आज कल नोटिस हुआ कि नहीं नौकरी को लेकर, रेलवे की नौकरी के बदले जमीन देने के घोटाले में? क्या हो रहा है उत्तर प्रदेश में? तो मैं कहां बताऊं? अभी तक जितने इन्होंने आरोप लगाए हैं, एक भी आरोप में कोर्ट से राहत नहीं मिली है, क्योंकि सबूत है, क्योंकि आपने भ्रष्टाचार किया है, इसलिए होता है ना।
Shifting focus from that political war to another one, and this time it is about the one that's broken out between the BJP and the Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh after the prime accused in the horrific killing of Umesh Pal was gunned down in an encounter by the Prayagraj police yesterday. Now, links between gangsters and politicians is back under lens as far as Uttar Pradesh goes. Today, the BJP shared a photo of one of the accused, Sadakat Khan, seen with Samajwadi Party chief and former Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav. They claimed that it was under Akhilesh Yadav these criminals became Bahubalis. Now, the Samajwadi Party leaders shared pictures of BJP members with that same accused. Following this, the Samajwadi Party president Akhilesh Yadav denied the allegation, claiming that this is only a half-truth. Pictures don't prove anything. Meanwhile, other accused have been identified in the case as well. They are sons of former MP and jailed mafia Atiq Ahmed.
सरकार डायलॉग से चल रही है और जिस सरकार का परमानेंट डीजीपी ना हो, एक ही अधिकारी पर इंटेलिजेंस हो, एक ही अधिकारी पर सब कुछ हो, उसके बाद कैसे उम्मीद कर सकते हो कि प्रशासन सही खबर मुख्यमंत्री और सरकार तक पहुंचाएगा। देखिए, तस्वीर किसी के साथ भी हो सकती है। तो आज ये सोशल मीडिया का जमाना है, कोई भी आता है फोटो खिंचवाता है। आपने आधी फोटो देखी, लाने वाला भी उसके अंदर फोटो के अंदर है।
ये समाजवादी पार्टी इन्हीं लोगों के संरक्षण रहे हैं और इसलिए कहीं फोटो आ जाए तो आश्चर्य क्या है। जिसने इन लोगों को जो पेड़ है, छोटे से पेड़ को बड़ा सा पेड़ बना दिया, बरकत का पेड़ बना दिया, अपनी छाया में रख लिया, तो इन लोगों पे कहीं इस तरह की चीजें आए समाजवादी पार्टी में अखिलेश यादव, तो इसमें किसी को आश्चर्य नहीं होना चाहिए। हाँ, जो पूछ रहे हैं प्रश्न उसका वो ही जवाब दें कि कितने क्रिमिनल्स को आप लोगों ने पाला है, समाजवादी पार्टी को इसका जवाब देना चाहिए।
Moving on now, ahead of the G20 foreign ministers meet on the 2nd of March, CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra went to the arrival gates of Taj Hotel, which is the venue for that particular event. Listen in to what transpired, find out what's awaiting all of these foreign ministers.
We are bringing this a special broadcast from Taj Palace Hotel in Delhi, which is going to host more than 20 countries in next 4 days. So we are right now at the arrival area of the Taj Palace Hotel, and you can see the drums are being played in the background. The drums are being played, and in every 5 minutes, one delegation or a diplomat is arriving at Taj Hotels, and they are getting this grand reception, grand welcome at the hotel lobby. We'll go inside, and in fact, we'll speak to the general manager that what all arrangements they have made for the diplomats. General Manager Saab is right here with us. Thank you so much. First time, sir, this is G20 we are going to host. How challenging it is?
It is challenging, but we are extremely excited to be part of this multilateral summit that is happening in India for the first time. And, you know, it's great to be part of it when India is having the presidency.
That's a wrap from my side, but news and updates continue here on CNN News 18. Shivani Gupta joins you with Plain Speak next.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Manish Sisodia knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court today, but there was no relief. The Chief Justice of India, while hearing the matter, said they cannot intervene just yet. And it does not send a good message if they do so for a matter that comes up in the national capital. They also reminded that Sisodia has enough remedies available otherwise. With this, the focus shifts back to the investigation and the interrogation being mounted by the CBI against the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister. The crucial aspect is the more the agency digs into the alleged modus operandi and more the details of the missing links stumble out, the graver the questions become. First is the question, how did a key government file with important notings and approvals of a policy go missing, as is being said? Why did Sisodia change so many phones within a year, and why are most of them missing as alleged? What were the alleged parleys in Hyderabad and Delhi on the excise policy all about? And if there are kickbacks, then can it be proved? One thing is clear, Mr. Sisodia seems to be in trouble. While agencies become a battleground for political barbs, when it comes to corruption at the level of a government policy or at high places, agencies don't usually act unless they are reasonably sure. And in this case, there are many accused already arrested who have either benefited or those who have been allegedly the conduits and the middlemen. Can all of them stay silent? What is also equally true is that proving such a corruption is never easy, and without a clear money trail, it may not amount to much. Politically, this is now the biggest crisis of credibility for the Aam Aadmi Party. Can they survive it? We'll take those questions to our guests in just a bit. I want to break down a little bit of what more we know as far as what transpired in the hearing today. So first up, the Delhi deputy knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court. This is what his side argued today, that the arrest is illegal because offence is punishable with less than 7 years. Sisodia was summoned only twice and he attended it, was also an argument made by his counsels, and that he hasn't been named in the charge sheet. No money has been recovered. But those arguments did not cut ice, at least at this stage at the Supreme Court level. This is what the court said. They said they're not inclined to entertain the petition under Article 32. Just because the incident is from Delhi, you cannot come to SC. You have remedies like bail in competent court. In fact, I've got some big breaking updates that are now coming in. Even as I was talking about how serious the charges against Manish Sisodia are, we're getting updates now that Manish Sisodia has submitted his resignation. I believe this is his resignation from his ministerial post. My colleague Rupashri Nanda is also joining us. Manish Sisodia, not only the education minister, the excise policy head, but he was holding as many as 18 portfolios. Rupa, tell us more about his resignation.
Well, yes, Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has now submitted his resignation. Along with him, Satyendra Jain has also submitted his resignation. So Delhi Arvind Kejriwal clearly, going in for a new faces, even in fact ahead of the budget. As far as we know, this information has come in just now, and we are confirming that Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has resigned and been in jail now, who was the former health minister and PWD minister, has also tendered his resignation. So we could see a new faces in the cabinet very soon. And this is actually not on entirely expected lines, because since Satyendra Jain had not been asked to submit his resignation, and since the Delhi Chief Minister had stood by Satyendra Jain for 10 months, and because there was an anticipation within the Aam Aadmi Party that Manish Sisodia will be arrested, and the Aam Aadmi Party was actually preparing for a plan B in case Manish Sisodia gets arrested. And therefore, it was actually, believed, and many party leaders had actually told us that though they are not privy to any information, and it was the Chief Minister's prerogative, to take a decision on who are going to be his next ministers, whether he's going to stick by Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. Actually, the Chief Minister has gone ahead. And this decision has been taken.
Okay, but Rupashri, like you very rightly pointed out, for Satyendra Jain, for example, they continue to stick to their guns. Manish Sisodia has only just been arrested. What has brought about this change of mind in the Aam Aadmi Party that these two just cannot continue as part of the cabinet? Because Satyendra Jain did for many months.
Absolutely. In fact, that was the feeling, and that was the that was the information that was given by many party leaders on record when they were speaking, when everybody was asking about the next move, considering especially that Manish Sisodia was holding 18 portfolios. So who is going to handle all those portfolios?
Right.
But somewhere I think somewhere Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has realized that governance must not suffer. And because of the unpredictability of the situation that Manish Sisodia finds himself in.
Right.
And remember, this news has come in just after the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court actually did not entertain.
Before I go across to my colleague Arunima, who's also joining us, Rupashi, very quick response also. Is it just because Manish Sisodia was handling too many portfolios, he was also given the portfolios that Jain handled for earlier? Or is it also that there is a matter of propriety that is increasing for the Aam Aadmi Party government? We've not seen two Delhi ministers in jail at the same time ever before, I believe.
Well, it is a mix of both actually, because Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia was actually handling 18 portfolios. He was shouldering all the responsibilities that Satyendra Jain was shouldering. And not just that, as I have been mentioning before also, remember COVID times. During that time, Satyendra Jain was still the health minister, but still,
an expert committee was formed and Manish Sisodia was made the head of that expert committee. So Manish Sisodia was much more than just a minister in the Aam Aadmi Party cabinet in Delhi. He actually was the main go-to person for Arvind Kejriwal.
Right.
He was the troubleshooter in the party also. And apart from that, he still remains a big face in the party. The party has used him to garner support in election-bound states also.
Okay.
But somewhere,
Clearly,
I think
the time was up for both of these. Yes, sir. Yes, Rupashri, continue.
The pressure on the Aam Aadmi Party's government was building day by day with increasing scrutiny on every move or every word that was uttered by Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. And you asked me whether it is just a question of because he was handling too many portfolios, or it is because he was. It is a matter of propriety.
Okay.
If you look at Satyendra Jain, also it was a matter of propriety. But Arvind Kejriwal had stuck by Satyendra Jain.
Sometimes it breaks the camel's back. One minister, you could defend it, but possibly not two, and not with such grave corruption charges. Rupashri, stay with us. I want to quickly bring in my colleague Arunima also. Some guests from all party sides are also joining us as this big update comes in. Finally, the Aam Aadmi Party, Arunima has bitten the bullet. It was just getting too much to evade the fact that two of their ministers who continue to be in the cabinet are now in jail.
You know, whatever the Aam Aadmi Party might give as way of justification, they could say that they did not want Delhi governance to suffer. They could say that, Mr. Sisodia himself took this call since he was handling so many portfolios, whatever they might say. As far as optics goes and as far as what BJP will interpret this is that succumbing to political pressure. They would, attack the Aam Aadmi Party. They have been saying this even now. You heard press conference after press conference after the Supreme Court refused to entertain that plea. What is it that the BJP was saying? That you were the ones who were distributing certificates of honesty. Kattar Imandar was your, slogan. Even the apex court is not appreciating all the plea that you're making. And now that the Deputy Chief Minister, former Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, if I may say so, has resigned, has stepped down, this is going to politically hurt the Aam Aadmi Party. On the part of the investigating agency, I don't think either the CBI or the ED would comment officially because this is not their job. But there would be a sense of acceptance that whatever they have told the court is being appreciated on merit. All the criticism that they were facing for acting under political pressure, the investigating team would feel that, they must have had some substance to the evidence gathering that has led to this decision by Mr. Kejriwal, the Chief Minister, asking two of his cabinet colleagues to step down. And I just want to remind, while all of us are just focusing on the excise policy case, there is also a second case pending against Mr. Sisodia, that of phone tapping, snooping here in Delhi. The sanction for investigation has come from the Ministry of Home Affairs. CBI is yet to begin probe, but their officials, after initial scrutiny, are quite confident that in this case, in that particular case also, they have enough to pin down the case in Prevention of Corruption Act against Mr. Sisodia.
Okay. Arunima, please stay with us. I will come back to you in a little bit on more of what we are finding out as far as the investigations are concerned. But I have to go across to the guests who are joining us. Syed Zafar Islam, the BJP national spokesperson, Abhinandita Mathur of the Aam Aadmi Party. I'm also joined by Umesh Sehgal, who's been a former chief secretary in the national capital. Abhinandita, finally the decision that everybody was asking. In fact, I started this show by saying that this is the biggest crisis of credibility for the Aam Aadmi Party. You've responded at least to the point that these two individuals can no longer continue in the cabinet. Finally, why this decision now? Was it too much to deflect?
It's a very unfortunate day for Delhi and the people of Delhi. But the main thing is that we do not want governance to suffer further. Already there is so much kheenchtan between the LG and the elected government. We really do not want, we owe everything to the people of Delhi. We don't want governance to suffer, and which is why a replacement was impending now. Also, we realize that this is an ongoing battle. As you know, that there are over 5,000, 6,000 cases pending in the ED and the CBI against politicians of various opposition parties. So we are not, we don't trust the BJP or the center in that state, and we feel that, this battle might be longer than expected.
No, you say, Abhinandita, sorry, I'm coming in. I just want initial reactions. You're saying that you don't trust whatever this kheenchtan is going on and you don't trust the agencies and the BJP. Fact of the matter is that Mr. Jain has been in jail for nearly 9 months. He hasn't got any relief. Even the FIRs haven't been quashed. Forget about the fact that he's been able to come out of jail or not. Manish Sisodia wasn't given relief yesterday when he was presented in court, wasn't given relief while going directly to the Supreme Court. You have to honor the process. And fundamentally, the Aam Aadmi Party, even today the Congresses came out and lambasted you. That a party that came to power on the back of a Lokpal movement has 2 of its ministers in jail. You just not responded to the situation. You're acting like a victim here. But at least possibly there's a good start that these 2 couldn't continue in cabinet. You can't blame others. You haven't been able to quash the cases against them.
I agree that, the decision to step down by Honorable Manish Sisodia ji is commendable, because again, like I'm repeating, that what he believes is that, he's not here. He started as a journalist, an activist, and then went on to, be one of the leaders of a top movement. And then if there are allegations like this, he rather step down. So this is his moral responsibility, he believed.
But what about Mr. Jain's moral responsibility? I would have bought that argument if Mr. Jain had also quit when he was jailed. And once you realize that he's going to continue in jail.
In both cases, we plead innocent. And that is something that is our constitutional right. This is the constitutional right of both these persons concerned. And I think that, the law will have to take its course. What we are saying is that while we do honor the process, while we do honor the courts, we also believe that there are certain agencies that do function in the influence of the ruling party.
Okay.
I don't think
I'll come back to you, Abhinandita. Let me just take opening comments from all of our guests joining us. I'm also joined by Ravula Sridhar Reddy, BRS leader. Now remember, there is a link that is emerging with the BRS in Telangana. I also want to welcome Kapil Sankla, senior Supreme Court lawyer. But Syed Zafar Islam, I'm coming to you first up. The Aam Aadmi Party is saying this is for governance. This decision has been taken because Mr. Manish Sisodia had too many responsibilities. Clearly, they need to have governance continue.
The only responsibility was what Mr. Sisodia had, to plunder the government of Delhi's wealth. Because what he was doing is only how to make money for themselves, for his party, and through unfair practices for Mr. Kejriwal. The architect of this entire scam is Mr. Kejriwal, and he was the one who was also responsible, along with Mr. Kejriwal, to do this crime.
You've got your wish, Mr. Islam, you've got your wish. You've been asking for Jain's resignation.
Yesterday they were speaking something else.
And for
today they are
Sisodia's
speaking something else. Yesterday they were saying that they will get somehow relief from the Supreme Court. Today what Supreme Court has said